So is there anyone who would consider being the person who continues holding space for the Infinite Spaces Spark Study Group?
Yes, I would be thrilled to hold space. And that might, I might have to step down because of circumstances, but I don't foresee that soon, and I can replace myself.
That is allowed as space holder. Okay, so what I
we have
heard.
a quick logistic. Oh, go ahead.
Well, okay, we'll open for logistics in a second. But so what I heard, Leslie, just want to be sure, you said you'd be thrilled to be the space holder, but would you like to be the space holder? Not necessarily for this call, but going forward.
Going forward.
Okay. Yay. Thank you, Leslie. I feel so glad. I forget who gave me the possibility, but I was just speaking. Maybe it was Meredith. I was just like, "Ugh, this Spark Study Group's gonna have to end." And I totally forgot about this possibility of replacing myself. Okay. Any logistics?
Yes, a new person, Rafirial,
Yes.
was asking about the Zoom link in the chat, and I shared the Google.
He found it.
Okay.
Welcome, Rafi.
What up, Dawei?
We're just in a quick logistics, Rafi.
Okay.
And Leslie has just agreed also to replace me as space holder going forward. So that's what you missed in the first minute or so.
Beautiful.
Okay, if there are no other logistics, I want to begin. And Leslie, I want to bring something back from the first few weeks of the Infinite Spaces Spark Study Group, which is really for the whole team to be responsible for the aliveness of the space. And so especially you, Leslie, I would like to start doing the handoff. I have a spark already picked out, but I would love, I invite you to just speak as much, actually more than you would like to be speaking. And the same goes for everyone else, but especially Leslie.
Very good. I will do that.
Yay. Is there anything that anyone has that they want to share with the team?
I was thinking about how I brought up last week something that was on my mind, and I feel a lot of joy that I carried it through. I asked to meet with you all, and we did, and we had that experience, and I listened to the recording, and I had some, I guess I was sad and angry about how stilted, or how much I don't speak clearly or fluidly, and still I thought it was a very rich conversation. I'm very glad that we had it, and I'm glad that I didn't let it get in the way of finding again what it was I wanted to say, so I could convey it to you and ask the questions I wanted to ask.
In some ways, Leslie, I think you were moving extraordinarily fast. Although you were saying that your question asking was stilted and maybe the words weren't coming, maybe this is true. And in terms of of being with all of us and coming in, I thought you were moving really fast and taking quite a large step.
Can you say what you mean by fast?
Yeah, meaning the step that you took to be with the rest of our bridge house was huge. It was a huge step. And that's what I mean by fast. You covered quite a lot of ground in terms of bringing yourself in.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Rafi, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. I'm really glad to see you on this call, and I just want to hear a little bit about what excited you enough about a Spark study group that to bring you here, and also
Yeah.
anything else that you would share in terms of experiments that you're running in your life or other things of that nature.
Yeah. What brought me here today is that the joy that I felt around a continual study, and more into the experimentation of what I learned. I had, for those who don't know, I did my first Expand the Box and lab last month, the beginning of November. So it was very transformative in the way that I think and acknowledge my feelings. So just it felt very intuitively like a fuck yes when I saw it in the American Village Telegram group, and brought me here today so that I could get more in tune with like conscious individuals who are being more intentional with how we come to this experience of being alive. And as far as the experimentation I've been moving through, it's been very, I've been in a family portal. I've been hanging out with my family for the past couple weeks. And that's just been both very challenging and very, has brought me a lot of joy. It's brought up a lot of fear. It's brought up a lot of sadness. It's brought up a lot of anger. And I've had the opportunity to like go into EHPs with some really charged emotions and really be able to make some breakthroughs and find some new awarenesses, as well as accept them for where they're at while practicing my new tools and new ways of feeling. And it brings me so much joy to be able to say this out loud to people, specifically this group, because it's something that's brought me a lot of joy in just how I've handled maneuvering family time and coming to the table with compassion and love, and letting it be messy at times and cleaning up the messes. So yeah, I'm grateful to be here, and yeah. Thanks for having this space that way. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rafi. I want to also encourage you. I felt really with you, or I feel your joy about just some of the things that you were able, making messes, cleaning messes up with your family, and I want to know more. So would you share in a way that I mean, it sounds like you've stumbled upon some gold for yourself. Would you share in a way that the rest of us might be able to take some of that gold with us?
Yes. Yes, I have a specific moment in mind that I had with my sister where I asked her for space. I asked her if it was okay for me to get big emotionally. Um, and I asked, yeah, that was my ask. And I was like, I'm going to get loud. And I got a yes for that. Um, and so I really moved into the feelings of anger and got big and got loud and like felt supported by her. And that was like a 20 to 25-minute process for me that I was able to really get into a time period in my life. It was kind of like a self EHP with my sister holding space. And then later, the next day, she conveyed to me that that was like way too much for her, and that triggered her, and that was like, yeah, it was very challenging to hear that triggered her so profoundly, and it was a mess. And it gave me the space to, in a world where I don't always show up for failing out loud, that I showed up and I failed out loud, um, and was able to make a mess and then receive my sister's like sadness and confusion and anger about feeling trapped in that, with a compassion of, okay, and almost like a joy in that moment, even of like, I made a mess and like here I am, like I can clean it up, like I'm not dead, nothing's coming, I'm nothing's coming to get me, or like those fears are unfounded. So I got like a different respect for making the mess and also creating the intimacy with my sister, and coming to the understanding that yes, I asked for space to share my emotions, and from someone who's not been in those initiative portals, initiative spaces like the expand the box and the labs, like she didn't know what I meant when I asked for space to share those emotions so largely and loudly. um, and it's opened up such a conversation with her, um, and I think it allowed her to feel some things that challenged her in ways that, over the next few weeks that I'm here with her, I'm here with her on purpose, that I really feel like we'll be able to have a deeper level of authentic intimacy, because I decided to show up in my bigness and fullness, and open that door, even if it was received in such a way that like kind of shook her emotionally, and brought up a lot of stuff from our childhood. So I guess I'm just like really grateful that I'm willing to be in those dangerous spaces and to test the waters of what's authentic for me right now, and how do I want to come to the table with like speaking to my sister or my mom or my dad. And I can just see how that's changed so drastically from the last time that I was here, um, and how there's a lot more authenticity and boundaries that I have like ready to implement, and how that's being received like really well, by my mom and dad and sister, even when there's moments of like being challenged, or they're being challenged or triggered, or I am. And yeah, I'm really grateful that I have the awarenesses that I have, so that as I'm in this time, and in this pressure cooker of triggers and new ways of interacting, just like I'm well prepared, and I see how well prepared I am, and it doesn't have to be pretty all the time. And I think that that's the biggest nugget of gold for me right now, is just like the learning to fail out loud, knowing that I have my boundaries and that I respect them, therefore I can say them out loud. And it's there's a much the barrier that used to be there for me setting my boundaries has been removed. and I'm navigating the fear that I feel and that barrier being gone, and the joy that I feel, and so excitement around establishing a new me in the face of the deepest seated like projectors of who I used to be.
Mm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Refi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to ask Meredith, would you be willing to hold space for a map creation? Meaning,
Right now.
yes, meaning that you're holding space for the logistical writing of a map, and
Yes.
all of us as a team are sourcing it.
Yes. I will need about 45 seconds though.
Okay. Good.
Now?
Yes. I have insider information that Meredith is the closest person on this call to a whiteboard. So
I thought I was the best at writing on the board.
I should have waited until you were out of the room.
It's not a very empowering story.
She also possibly has the neatest handwriting. I haven't seen everyone's handwriting, but I make that guess.
I think it's fair. It's a fair guess.
I also just have secret information that there are people on this call who have made huge leaps in terms of being with family and communicating about transformation and healing with family, and it seems there might be a necessity because it's whatever, there's always a necessity for this, and maybe there are people traveling, people visiting family around this time of year. So I am opening a space for us to source a map about authenticity and being with and really making connection with other people who maybe do not have the same hobbies that we all have. We all have a hobby of transformation and healing and edge working, and a lot of people in the world just don't. And I find it extraordinarily difficult to continue to speak about my hobby only as a hobby. Like I always go in this like go down this slope of my hobby is so important. My hobby is so important that people around me better know how to hold space for me, or somehow they're not good humans for not knowing how to do my hobby. I seem to be frozen, or everyone is frozen. My video is moving. No one else is moving.
There's that question.
I'm gonna keep. Am I back?
You are back.
Yes.
Okay. Could you hear me?
No, I think my whole screen froze. I think it's I think it's the internet here at the house.
Okay.
I also had you freeze. Oh, you're in the same house. I understand.
I heard you up to you saying that you keep getting to a place where you think your hobby is the most important, and then if people can't hold space for that, then they're inferior in some way, and then there's no chance to communicate, to be together.
Okay, that's about all I had said. I use this hobby thing. My friend, I have a close friend who's been to Expand the Box, been to a Possibility Lab also, and she loves it. She loves the distinctions. Her partner has a box that he would probably never go to Expand the Box. If he did, he would really fight everything that was happening there. And she asked the question, how do I be with my partner who really just is not interested in this kind of stuff? And the advice that she got, which I really loved, is is it's exactly this. It's your hobby. It's as though you picked up a hobby of yoga and you love yoga and it's doing great things for your life. And anybody who has a hobby of yoga would not be scared of going to their weekly yoga class. And you just go, and maybe you also tell your partner, hey, I'm doing yoga. If you want to come check it out with me, you can come. But really to leave it at that, and to also not fall onto the side of, oh, there's this super secret thing, super weird thing that I'm doing. And now I have to be so awkward talking about emotional healing processes because I don't know how anyone's going to react. And it's just okay, it's also just a hobby. It's the same as yoga. You would not hide the fact that you're going to a yoga class. Well, maybe you would, but but you don't have to. You can just say, I'm doing this thing called yoga, doing this thing called transformation. I'm doing this thing called an emotional healing process. And I want to investigate. I want to investigate how come it's so hard that basically everyone I know who has the hobby of transformation finds it really hard to walk that line of not talking about it. The one side is talking about it in every single conversation, so much that your family starts to think that you're in some weird cult, or the line of like, I have this secret thing in my life and I can't tell you anything about what I'm doing. You just wouldn't get it. Whatever, it's okay. You don't need to understand. I'm happy. You don't need to worry about me. And there's so Meredith, would you just use your impulse? I think that would be a great start to the map.
Yeah.
It's kind of like seesaw of
Insanity.
yeah, I need to become a Christian missionary about this stuff. And all, but and then the other side is like, no one can know, no one can ever know. It's okay. You don't need to know about this. Could you bring the easel a little bit forward?
I'm writing a little small.
Yeah, it's a little small.
Can you even read it now?
No.
I pinned your video on my screen and now it's big enough for me to see.
I could try
Gotcha.
again.
No, it's perfect. I think it's perfect.
No one can ever know. On
Ah,
the other side, we have
You are a bad person unless you also do this hobby.
mhm.
Where is everyone on this scale currently? And maybe you've been all over it.
For me, it depends on with who I am. Some persons are completely open, and some others just, well, okay, I do something, but that's all. I can be on both, depending on them.
I think that I've got a pretty good balance now. And I teeter to one side or the other every now and again. Yeah.
what do you call that space?
The balance space in the middle.
Yeah.
What do I call it? I know the word equilibrium's coming to mind, but I don't have a name for it.
Yeah, make a name that is kind of descriptive rather than
I want to volunteer in contact. The
Mm.
middle zone is I am being in contact with the people around me.
Like reality.
and
Like
myself.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, reality, but I like in contact more. It's open for other suggestions too.
Yeah, keep coming.
Yeah.
Unless you're
I've been
into
on-
transformation, unless you're into possibility management, unless you're into anything, right?
Mhm.
I would just say, yeah, my possibility management. Let's just say possibility management, since this is a possibility management space.
You don't have to wait for me. Keep them coming.
I want to say I have made it clear that I'm into possibility management, and that it's very important to me to feel my feelings. And when it comes up in my community, I'll report in that I'm making sure I have places to feel my feelings, because that's important to me. And when I went to the training in California, I said, I'm going to a possibility management training. And nobody really asked me about it. And that stuck with me a bit. I mean, that I felt sad about it. I felt angry. And yeah, and so for my birthday, we have you can do whatever you want for your birthday. And so what I did was ask the group to consider the merits of Taurus technology, of using the system of saying the resistance, how much resistance you have to any proposal. And people were so surprised that that's how I wanted to use my birthday time. But it was really important to me to share some aspect which wasn't as much about feelings, but was about radical responsibility to me. I just wanted to demonstrate something to the group. And I was hoping they would say something.
Go? Like on this scale of that we're creating here, how did it go?
Well, for me, I don't know how to say. I mean, I felt like I was in contact. I was bringing one aspect that was important to me to see how people responded to it.
Okay.
What did
I'm
you
not sure
find out?
what
What did
you're
you
asking.
find out, Leslie, that worked or hasn't worked, either in this one birthday example or just in other times about sharing this, allowing other people to be in contact with you about what your life is about?
Well, what's the thing on the right say? No one must know.
No one can ever know you're a bad person unless you're into possibility management.
Uh-huh.
And I added here one aspect because you talked about sharing one aspect of it.
Uh-huh. There's a protection that I have about what I am not going to talk about this at any length if you're not asking me about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a way that I'm all the way on the scale of no one can know because they're not asking, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to bring forth what I have, whether you're asking me about it or not.
Meredith, I'd love to start making some columns of like what doesn't work and what does work, because I've done also of like, okay, the way to be really respectful of people is I don't talk about it unless they ask me about it. And for me, that goes in the doesn't work category because
yeah,
it's not sharing my aliveness at all.
right.
Mm-hmm. I've been all over on this map, like almost every single possible iteration of that little dial. I've probably been there. over the course of the past 3 years. And one
Yes.
thing I noticed is that moving from the place of like, if you don't do this, you're a bad person, it's very much in like a parent ego state. Like I really had this with my sister and my brother for a few months where I was like, God, don't you just want, like, this is about, my life is so wonderful, I'm doing all these cool things, you should do an EHP too, God, don't you hate how you're living, look at you, like this kind of like that I wasn't saying that directly, but that was like the energy was like, there's something wrong with you and I know how to fix it, and if you only listen to me, I can help you fix it. And then the hiding thing is a total gremlin ego state thing of like, it's almost like a revenge. Well, oh, you're not going to ask me about it, I'm not going to tell you. You get to know nothing about how my life is really going then.
Yeah.
And so it's like I associate them with different ego states in my head.
Coming in.
So on the one hand, you're saying like, I know best. You're
Mhm.
this thing of, I know what you need doesn't work.
Yeah.
And on
does
the
not-
other hand, what doesn't work is, it's like, is there like revenge?
yeah, or like it also doesn't, I think it was you, Dawe, that said this, or maybe Leslie, but it doesn't work to hide because it presupposes it, like that in that regard, connection hinges on someone even knowing that you're doing this. So like if I don't tell anyone about possibility management unless they ask me about it, like that assumes that they know about it already, and not a lot of people don't. And so it's putting a huge burden on someone else to open a doorway that they may not even have the capacity or ability to open.
Yeah, I would
Interesting. Not a lot of people.
Yeah, I
Not
would
a
say
lot of people don't.
yeah, I would say not in the grand scheme of the world, not a lot of people know about possibility management.
Yeah.
I would put on the side of works. It works to remember that people care about my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that also goes in hand with this like revenge thing Ethna said of like this revenge of you don't get to know about my life. And so to and to just have it in my consciousness of these people care. And so to withhold is this kind of weird revenge thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
How did it work for you, Ethna, to shift out of the parent ego state with your brother and sister of don't you want your life to also be amazing or whatever what you said?
It was witnessing how it didn't work, and like really, because I would approach, we would get on calls and I would just, we'd be on FaceTime and I'd be like, oh my God, and then there's this and this and this, and just watching them totally shut off when I was kind of in my evangelizing of like, you need to be doing this. Like I could feel that they were just totally uninterested in connecting with me when I was like this. And this was the only way that I was like, because it was so much, the evangelist thing was such a part of my identity of possibility management. It's like when I very first started a couple of years ago. And so it was really realizing like, wow, I'm really like, the cost of evangelizing possibility management is having a relationship that actually does, like, being with my sister and my brother. Do I want to keep trying to force this down their throats so they don't want it, or do I actually want to speak to them and receive love from them and love them?
Yep.
Yeah, it was feeling the cost of that.
I'd say what has worked for me in this past couple of weeks is inviting them to know more about it. Like I've invited my sister to know more about it because she seemed like mildly interested and was actually able to like connect with her deeply and get into my joy and excitement about it, and like kind of go through slides of the maps that I have pictures of, and like she was actually asking like, what does this mean? What is this one? And like there was some that stuck out to her more. So like getting to invite her, it really was just like an ask of like, hey, do you want to see the pictures of these maps from this thing that I was in? She was just a yes from the invitation. Was a great way of opening that door and like sharing my joy. And I could see that, she had a capacity and couldn't take all of it in, but it was also just like such a joy to like be in my excitement about like, hey, these are these things. So I get to share them with you. And so yeah, just that's been my kind of tool with my parents and stuff too. And it's very much like there's a yes and no. I honor your yes and no has been a big piece of me being here. So just being able to invite without the expectation of like, yes, they're gonna want to, or no, be okay with the yes and no there. But
Rafi,
inviting, yeah.
I was wondering if did you speak about what you learned rather as well as show the map? Like, did you bring your own, not just that I have joy about this, but what you got from the experience?
Yes. Yes. I think that's
how did that go?
It goes, it went very well. I felt like they had a lot of intimacy there, and I guess vulnerability with my sister is pretty easy for me. So I was able to share all the challenges and some of the stories, or I guess legends from the moments that I had during my Expand the Box that really put me into spaces of fear or spaces of being very challenged in my beliefs, and shifting my reality. So it was, yes, I got to share some of my favorite maps, and that was opening in the ability to like be intimate, and share my actual experiences of what I moved through during that time in the Expand the Box in the lab.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one thing, which is remembering times when I've gotten interested in other hobbies. There's like the big knowledge gap. It's like starting from zero knowledge about something and then reading an article, and they're using words that have certain meanings, and I don't get them all at once. And what hasn't worked for me with sharing about possibility management is trying to go really slowly. So having this thing of like, okay, this is all really complicated stuff. If they haven't been to Expand the Box, I have to explain things really carefully. I have to walk, trying to deliver all of the building blocks, and it sort of just takes forever. And it's not so alive because I have to slow down to that level. But what works better for me is sort of just having it be okay that some of these distinctions are I mean, they're all experiential, and some of them are kind of complicated and really nuanced, and people will get them, think they get them, and then in me, I'm like, oh, well, they don't get this nuance about this thing. They don't really get it. And to just, and I think that comes from a parent ego state thing of like, okay, they have to get all of the knowledge like perfect, and I have to go and I have to explain in this really complicated way. Whereas for another hobby, it's just like, okay, they're a noob at this thing, and they're in some beginner's mindset, or they think they know something about this, and it's totally fine. And to just let go of that. And am I making sense?
Let go of what? You said let go of it.
Let go of this thing of having to explain everything in this perfectly logical, in all of the small building blocks way, but being willing to have a conversation where there are gaps in what they might be able to understand at first.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is it that you focus on? I get it. It's like,
so like the example is like, instead of like being like, okay, well, you have this thing called a gremlin, and like, well, I mean, well, okay, where do I even begin? Like, yeah, well, I don't want you to think gremlin is a bad thing, like doing this type of thing. Instead, just saying like, yeah, like I'm doing gremlin transformation. And then if they're actually interested in it, they'll get the flavor of it, and they'll be like, oh wait, okay, so then can you explain more about that thing? And so instead of this like really stilted, like, okay, I need to deliver the next little bite that they can handle. I just kind of put the bread out and like, if they're not interested, whatever. And if they are interested, they will actually go through the effort to make it digestible for themselves. And when I'm doing the first thing, it's really a parent ego thing of assuming they will not go through. And I have to, unless I unfold it in the perfect way, there's no hope for them. So I don't know how to describe that in terms of what works, but it's to understand that they will, if they are interested, they will figure out how to digest it.
Was it also to say that you're like, as you're talking to them and you're having gaps in the communication, I guess I could see that being frustrating, or to like hold compassionate space for them not understanding what you're saying while still engaging in that conversation?
Yeah, it's to not even care. It's to be excited. It's to just be excited. If I am, if I don't know, if I'm playing tennis, I used to play a lot of tennis, and my friend comes to play tennis with me for the fun. I mean, it's gonna be a disaster. They're not gonna know how to hit the ball, and it's not something where I have to be even concerned of like, they do not get the mechanics of how to serve. They do not get the mechanics of how to do of all the fork. I would just focus on, wow, it's so fun that my friend is coming outside with me to play tennis. And yeah, so that's my response.
Yeah.
There's something else that works that came to me, and it's allowing your bright principles to shine through in these kinds of interactions. Because like if you're, in my experience, when I was trying to communicate with my family about this kind of thing, if I came from parent, child, or gremlin ego state, it just like communication was dead. There was no way. And then I went very far into the hiding. But like when I kind of allowed the bright principle of connection to really flow through me and into the space, it created like a space where I was not at all defensive of fuck you if you think I'm wrong. This is the thing I'm doing with my life. It was just like, yeah, this is it. This is my world. You're invited in if you want, but if not, we can still love each other. And so there was allowing the bright principles of like love and connection in particular to really flow into the space, opened up a lot of doors.
There's also something, Ethna, that I got is about like walking the walk. It's maybe in this instance, it wasn't really about explaining things, but the quality of presence. Is this kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Like I'll give a little, I think Dawei and Meredith have heard the story, but I'll give a tiny rundown of over Thanksgiving, I went home to visit my family for the first time in probably 6 or 7 months. And with both of my parents, I had really hidden for years now that I was even interested in possibility management. They didn't know that I was doing this work. I lied to them and told them I was going to a meditation retreat in Poland. Did not tell them I was going to the labs. They thought I was going to go do a silent meditation retreat for 2 weeks. And when I went home, they asked me about it. And I was like, I lied to you and I'm sorry. And it was because I was scared. And this is what I've really been doing. This is how I'm living my life now. And really kind of cavitated a space for, a radically responsible life to exist. And it created, and really walking the walk, like Meredith said, it totally changed things. Like I achieved brand new levels of intimacy with my mom and my dad separately. And like they both asked for emotional healing processes at the end, or like indicated that they were willing for that. And they'd never indicated any willingness for anything like that in any of my lifetime prior to this. And so, and that I had no expectation of that, which I think was important. That I didn't go into these conversations being like, and you're going to have an EHP at the end. It was more of following the naturally unfolding intimacy that is created when I'm actually telling people what's going on with me and actually showing my life how I'm living it and not hiding it away.
Meredith, would you put
Yeah.
does not work lying? Would you just put lying on does not work?
It definitely does not work.
And I put earlier, thank you, Ethna, for sharing that. I didn't know about that piece beforehand. And I get it. It's like this urge to hide. Yeah. I wrote talk about gremlin on the does not work side. And I want to hear what you have to say about this. Because I think, yeah, what works for you?
You say first, Meredith.
I'm the kind of, often when I talk about things, I don't use any of the jargon. I don't think any of the naming, any of the jargon, any of it is helpful. But I do talk about, like, yeah, there's this part, and then give an example. You know, that part of you that has this kind of energy that just, like, it kind of feels out of control and it goes really fast. Okay, well, we talk about, and we have a special name for it. But anyway, this is the thing that da-da-da. And I just really don't use any of the words, because I find that it creates more otherness and separateness. And I mean, using the word gremlin as a serious terminology is kind of funny. Like, I think it's pretty funny and pretty silly, and I'm pretty funny and pretty silly. And I remember, but like, it's like, I don't want that to be the thing that gets in the way of what I'm trying to communicate. And if somebody's really interested in learning more, then I'll be like, okay, well, we call it this, if you want to know more. And I've been researching that. And that's how I usually do it. Because I think jargon is really just about, it's important to have specific language to be able to talk about something, but throwing it around at people who it doesn't make any sense to isn't connecting me.
Well, about that, I usually start with something like, well, first of all, you have a box. So like, that's the first spark. And I go in some depth to describe what the box is and how the box is about self-protection and what's familiar and comfortable, and like all the different aspects of just how important the box is, and that you have it, and it's everyone has one. So like, just get started with that piece. And I do go into gremlin pretty quick, because the gremlin defends the box. But can most people seem to get the box right away? But of course it's more complicated, but at least it's a start. And then usually at the point that their eyes are starting to glaze over, I say something about, basically it's all about radical responsibility. And it's about, taking little, yeah, how can I sum this up in a way that you'll get this, or that you'll get something out of it, like gold, that you'll walk away with something that makes sense to you, that you can start using right away. And that's pretty ambitious.
Leslie, why would you talk to somebody about their box?
Actually, I would talk to them about my box.
Okay, why would you talk to them about your box?
Because there's a way that it's like, here's the beginning. If we see that all these survival mechanisms are about protecting what we've come to, what we've established as the way that protects us, then you can, and that there's no good or bad, it just is what it is, then we're all on, we can maybe be on the same page. Like most people can get that, yeah, we have these things and we're not trying to get rid of the box. We want to help the box get bigger so there's more possibilities in life. So
so what is your
I bring it in,
purpose?
so
What is
what's
the
that?
purpose? What is your purpose?
It's mostly to give an answer to the what are you doing? What is your interest? What is your why did you go to that training?
Okay.
I don't know if it's the answer you're plumbing
I mean,
for.
it's
No.
always okay. People are frozen, so I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For me, it's always most connecting when I talk about Gremlin or talk about Box with the purpose of this is what these distinctions are doing for my life. So like, why do I care about Gremlin? I care because this is helping me have more intimacy in my relationship. And I don't know that I would put does not work to talk about Gremlin because I've had the experience that it's often an entry point for people. Almost everyone on Earth is somewhat interested in knowing more about their ego, aka the box. So a lot of people are interested in the box, and then a lot of people that are more closer to edge workers have some distinction about Gremlin, or they've observed something like this, and so these people, it really is a big entry point to talk about Gremlin. So it might work. It does not work to talk about these distinctions in isolation, just as like a cool concept. But it does work to say, yeah, I had this Gremlin behavior, and I've been looking at it, and now I can create. Now it works like this for me, and that lands a lot more. And I've one more thing that absolutely does not work, which is it does not work to insist on using any kind of process or exercise with somebody. And I have this horror story of last year at Thanksgiving trying to get my mom to use completion loops with me. And it was just uh I don't know why it was not clear to me that this would not work, but I really thought it would work if I was telling her how much I loved her and and was coaching her on saying you love me. I you it sounds ridiculous to me to be telling this story, but that's really what I tried to do about a year ago. And that just does not work. It does not create connection. It does not create love. You can try it. You're welcome to try it, get that distinction for yourself. And I can also just tell you it doesn't work.
What did
I
happen?
believe you.
What did happen was my mom was really confused, and then my sister got really upset at me for trying to manipulate my mom, in which was totally what was happening. I was like, no, you need to say you love me. Yeah. And then my sister was really upset. And my mom was just confused.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's very valuable.
Okay, Genevieve, do you have anything that you would want to that you're sitting on that you would add to this map?
I know you do, Genevieve.
In fact, no, I don't think so. In fact, maybe I'm too new in that world, but I don't speak about possibility management to so many persons. But I try to live it. For example, now I know I share more than before. I am more free to speak about my emotions, but I will not explain. I share more, and it is more with myself. I struggle more with myself to share more, to be more with what I was with, but now I can see how I am more. I mean, for example, I use my fear when these days I had many meetings and it was not likable, but I could use my fear to go forward, to go, we must do this, we must continue, we must find a solution. So I used my anger sometimes. So now I know more what I do, and I can use the concepts I learned here. But I don't share, I don't have to explain, now I am in that field, or now I am using this or that, or I just do it. Well, as long as I can, because I don't know. I know I will, in 1 year, I think I will be further. One step at a time.
Thank
Do
you,
you,
Genevieve.
are you saying you have no urge to tell your friends or your coworkers about it? I mean, if you said you have no urge, then that I believe you. I just
Well, in the possibility management team, we speak about it, of course,
right.
and we share, and it's nice. But in my ordinary life, I will say, I don't feel the need to explain, except if someone, when my brother asks me questions, then I can answer. But from me, I don't have the necessity. I don't see the necessity of speaking and explaining and whatever. I have the necessity of exploring, experimenting. If I try this, if I am more aware of, if I use my anger, maybe I can. Maybe we can advance more. This is how I do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Meredith, would you angle your camera down just so we can see the whole map? Share more. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Meredith, for being our map maker.
You're welcome. Ah, thank you.
I missed seeing your face, though.
I have a question. Genevieve, where are you on this map, on this dial? Right now, at least. Maybe tomorrow is different.
I can see. How do I do to make it bigger on my screen? To make it
There
alone.
you
Enter. Okay.
If you make hers the only screen, the only box, by pinning it, that would make it bigger.
I don't think you are a bad person unless you are into possibility management. No, it doesn't occur to my mind, and no one can ever know. Yes, they can know if. Just told you about, for example, my brother who is interested in that, and my possibility team, of course. But I think I'm in the middle. I don't need to speak about possibility management more.
But how did your brother know?
Because I told him I was in the possibility management team and I like it, and he sees I change. So this is how
Okay.
he could see that.
Okay, so there's something Have you had those kinds of conversations with other people besides your brother?
With my, yes, I told about my sister, but she was not as that much interested. So, well, I told her, and that's it. She was not so much interested, so it's okay. It's okay for me. Just you can have your life, and just let me have my life and try new things for
Okay.
experience new things. Go, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me more.
That the idea of being of your brother seeing that you changed and wanting to know more is very inspiring to me, and it's in 12-step programs, what they say is instead of promotion, we spread the word by now I can't remember. We don't spread the word. We demonstrate ourselves. We use the program, it changes us, and then we that's what gets people interested because they see the change.
Thank you, Leslie, for bringing that in.
Yes.
There's a spark that I think is related. I'm gonna share my screen for it.
No.
Not this one, though. This one. Okay. It happens to be Spark 100.
Wow.
Rafi, so you know the tradition is we read this together, and when you're done reading, you just stop, and then the next person just picks up. So Spark 100, the idea of incompatible evolution is a fallacy. 20 or 30 years ago, the concept of shared personal development as an important ingredient to satisfaction with your partner was far down the list, far below financial stability, children, a nice house, and ski holidays. These days, the list seems to have inverted itself. The cause of this change may not be due to conscious choice so much as to growing needs for you as a human being to expand your mental agility and use innovation soft skills in your daily lives. Until you are comfortable or even enthusiastic about authentic personal development, you will be handicapped when it comes to proactively participating in the rapid evolution of modern conditions. And if anyone has anything at any time, it is allowed to just stop the reading and we talk about it.
Since personal development is not yet a central pillar of Western culture, your understanding of some of the dynamics involved may be immature, perhaps even naive, and so problems can arise. A bit of serious introspection can make a significant improvement. This spark intends to take you on that journey. First, a person such as yourself, taking time to read these pages, for example, may be quite enthusiastic about the possibility of self-development. Second, you might also imagine that to bring self-development into your life, your partner should be at the same level of development as you and have an equivalent enthusiasm for doing evolutionary experiments.
The third part of this misery-making formula. Oops.
Yeah.
It's noticing that your partner would rather sit on the couch and watch television, gossiping about the neighbors or kicking around a soccer ball that is far more attractive to them than deepening your relationship together. At this point, the whole scenario around development devolves into an insoluble paradox with you as the victim of the joke. You cheerfully conclude that since you cannot develop together, you cannot develop at all.
Who has had a relationship or a friendship or any kind of relationship where they have found themselves here?
Me.
Some of you
Me.
sort of nod, but you don't raise your hand.
Yes, I had.
And I didn't see your screen, Rafi. Have you been here also?
Yes.
Cool. Or not cool, but that we all understand what this is talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
Somewhere, this fallacy of incompatible evolution got its beginning when my development is not synchronized with my partner's development. Then we are incompatible and cannot develop. Where do ideas like that come from? Think about it. This is harmonious. This harmonious vision that we imagine is ideal or conclude is necessary. I feel like I'm botching this. It's so tiny on my screen.
Doing it.
You're good.
Cool. Imagine as ideal or conclude is necessary may actually be impossible. It is arguably never the case that two people are at the same stage in their development or that they have the same degree of enthusiasm for evolutionary experiments ever, even for a moment. We are human beings, living organisms. We have the possibility of being reborn into new experiences of life with every breath. Stability and orderliness are nowhere in the picture. Requiring that you be at the same level of anything with your partner is nearly ridiculous.
Oh,
Like that.
Say more, Geneviève. What's woe?
wow. Requiring that you are the same level with anything. Oh my goodness, this is not nice to read.
How come it's not nice?
because it is good when you can share in the same request of life. It is nice to be with someone who are in when you are almost at the same quest of life. Like they said before, when someone just wants just to look at television. Once I was with a man, he said, just let us see a ridiculous film tonight. For me, it was with the meaning of that. There is no meaning for me. So, that's all.
So what do you think of this? Do you disagree? Or what do you think of that? Requiring that you be at the same level of anything with your partner is nearly ridiculous.
You're asking Geneviève?
Yes, but I don't know what to answer. I don't know what else to answer. I heard, but I don't.
Geneviève, just because I know you, I know that I don't know is your favorite phrase. And I really want to know. I really want to know what you think or what you feel about it. And it's not like there's a right answer. Something for us to explore together.
In a way, I mean, if you are in a relation with someone, or even more in partnership with someone, I hope there are ways to be, I don't like exactly the same level. It is not a level, but in the same field or in the same quest, or that you have real things to share, not just eating or films or whatever. It is not interesting.
Mhm.
When you have a deep relation, you have to have something important for each other. No?
Yes, and I would share, I want to say that when I first got involved with the man who's my husband now, he had come to my community, which was a lot about talking about issues, giving feedback to each other, being together a lot and having a lot of interaction. And he moved there and he was part of that. And he and I got together, and over the years, and he had come from a program, it's kind of like a drug rehabilitation program in which they did a lot of emotional work. And over the years, he acquired a TV. He was watching sports. He's watching NASCAR. He smokes, which I knew pretty early on. He drinks beer. It's just like, wow, it's so different than me. And it's not that I'm a teetotaler, but as the years went by, it was like, we're really different. He doesn't have any particular interest in any of this stuff anymore, even if he started out with it. And there's still something that holds us together. And I think there's some degree of like respect. He has some respect for what I'm doing, but he's made it clear, don't do it on me. And that has been a little difficult, but also there's so many ways I've learned to like keep going on my own path and not decide that his being on a different path was going to be a problem for me. I probably made some decisions to stay home more often than I would have. Maybe I would have gone to more trainings, but really there's I've learned a lot in this relationship and I value it. So in a way, that was
supportive,
the path I got to learn on. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
I think it's challenging. I think it's a challenging spark. For me, it's challenging. My previous relationship that ended was really this very painful thing at times for me of I'm dragging my partner along. She's sort of interested in doing some of these things with me. Don't know that that's really what her life is about. And yeah, I cannot say that I regret having ended that relationship. And yeah, so it is a challenging spark for me. I don't necessarily think, okay, yeah, because I tried that thing of like, well, if I just am connecting to her as a being, why shouldn't we be able to create love of a certain quality together? Why do I care about this and that and that and that? And whatever that strategy of why can't I just do this did not work. And at the same time, I have moments of seeing how brilliant every being is, including her. And when I look at what I created in the world by requiring having some kind of expectation that she have certain interests in certain things, and I look at the what I created, which was totally just destroying love in our space of relating, and by ending the relating, like totally destroying the possibility that two beings could basically just totally close the door on love is what happens. So I don't have a clear answer. Not that even getting an answer about it would be the point, but to me it's like, wow, okay, this is just a challenging thing to read.
Yeah, it's very controversial.
There is an experiment in the second half of the Spark, but anything else from anybody on this?
There's some
I
part of me,
go ahead.
I think being short. Yeah, I felt a bit of relief reading this because like a lot of the ways that I related to my friends that were doing possibility management, especially early on in my journey, was very much like, oh my God, they're so excited about this thing. And if I want to be in a relationship, I have to be so excited about this thing. And it was really like forcing myself into a state of excitement or passion about a project that was not real, that was not really coming from an authentic place inside of me. And there was something when we were reading this that there's like oh yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. It's okay for there to be, and it's natural for there to be varying levels in relationships, and doesn't mean that love can't thrive or love can't exist. It's just like how to navigate those places. It's not trying to force myself to be more or less excited about something or more or less passionate about something. It's just navigating the space in between and not trying to erase the space entirely.
Yeah, I had a similar feeling of relief reading it, not just from like relating with like a partner, but relating with friends as well. Just like I think I've spent a lot of my life, I know that I've spent a lot of my life thinking that other people think the same way that I do or have the same ideals or morals or integrity, and give like projecting that outwards and then being disappointed. So like to have a further reiteration of like, everybody's very different, and it's ridiculous for me to try to hold somebody to the same ideals that I hold myself. Um, and I also am of the mind now, I've been not relating for the most part over the past 3 years. I've been in like one very small relationship, mostly celibate over the past 3 years. So haven't really been in like partnership situations, but to think of what a partnership looks like for me now, me stepping into a new partnership, it's not like I just don't feel like I'll be attracted to someone who's not at a at least similar level of like self responsibility, or like want or care enough about themselves to like be in an evolutionary type of mode and living. And I couldn't see myself like being next to somebody and like traveling, or being in a partnership with somebody that wasn't not the exact same by any means, like differences and things to navigate there, but if they're not like just at least like responsible at that level of radical responsibility for their life and their feelings and emotions and things that come up, I don't think that would even be attractive to me at this point.
Yeah. I thought that too. I never thought I would be involved with a smoker. much less somebody who was basically, he was an alcoholic and a former drug addict. I mean, it was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I wanted to say, oh, interestingly, I've been married once before, and my first husband was more like me in this way, and wanted to do a lot of things together. He wanted us to make things happen together and to stay together and spend a lot of time together. And my husband now, we don't spend that much time together. We have times we check in. We don't sleep together. We have intimate times, but we just have a lot of distance in our relationship, which makes it possible. And I'm much happier in this relationship because of the space that it allows. It's, I don't know, and maybe this is off course a little bit, but I've thought about this a lot. Like, what am I doing? He's in community and he's not even that community minded, like what? But there's a lot of interesting contradictions.
I would like
you
to say
will
something.
be surprised, maybe.
I would like to say something about that. It seems that you have a lot of respect for each other. If he leaves you the space to do whatever you want and to go wherever you want, to evolve in your way, but he respects that. The thing is, the difference is when the other partner doesn't respect and says you should be like me or you should be like me. The other one, this is the main difference I can see in that. And in my relationships, it was really that case. If I can do whatever, if I need space, I need it. I know that still till I am maybe 3 years old, but if I can have that space for me and to evolve, it's okay. It is when the partner doesn't respect your way of living or your what you are looking, your longings. We spoke about longings last time. If he said your longings are really crazy, you are dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
This is the difference.
Yeah. And honestly, this really strong piece that he took Est a long time ago. Werner Erhard, a lot of people know about it, but it was a kind of thing where you're in a room for a number of hours, you're denied sleep and food, and the guy is just pumping into you that you are responsible for your life, basically. And so people call their parent and ask, apologize for something they go that ruined their relationship, all kinds of things happen. He did this program. And so the one thread that runs through him is, I'm responsible for what I do and what happens to me. And I think that has made it possible for us to be together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's
you share something very, very, very inside yourself. You share something very strong, a way of living, a way of minding, very strong.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leslie, and everyone. I'm gonna share my screen again so we can get to the experiment. Experiments. This will be an experiment in simply changing your mind. Before you start the experiment, you have the old image that you and your partner should be at the same level of development and should have the same spark of excitement about learning and trying new things. After the experiment, you have the new image that the idea just mentioned is a child's fantasy. Two adults are never at the same level of development. Enthusiasm fluctuates from moment to moment. It comes and goes, ebbs and flows, is sometimes contagious and sometimes not. Development happens independent of compatibility. The following experiment takes 3 seconds to do. The instructions are exact. Change your mind from the old image to the new image. Tell me when you're done. I'm done.
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 My internet cut out. I don't know if you said done.
Yes, I am done.
Okay. When the dust settles, you live in a new situation. In your new situation, what is possible? Would you share? Yeah, I feel a lightness that reminds me of how I feel after doing the man, I want to share this video out. So I don't want to mention something from Expand the Box. But there's a certain process that happens in an Expand the Box where people are asked this question of which one do you choose? And I feel something right now similar. I just feel this lightness. I feel this lightness that really reminds me of that, of like, okay, if this is just a child fantasy, it's so simple. I don't need to be tied down. Like this huge energetic weight just totally drops out of my life. That's what happened for me doing this experiment.
Recording in progress.
Whoa.
Who else? What else is possible when you make this switch to that you and your partner, or you and whoever it is, being at the same level of development and having the same excitement about learning and trying new things is just a child's fantasy?
Yeah, I felt more of that relief that I was speaking about earlier just like wash over me. And I was thinking, like, I had some like flashbacks to just like tiny interactions today where I like faked enthusiasm for something, or for something that someone said. And it feels like such a relief to know that I can just change my mind and do something completely different. That I can hold space for someone's enthusiasm and be a yes and a go without trying to like force something inauthentic from myself. And God, yeah, I feel the same kind of lightness. Like it really is that easy.
Yeah, I feel like this is just setting in for me a little bit. But yeah, I feel liberated from a mode of being in codependency, or like a door opening to like even further move out of that child's fantasy, which I guess would be what I'm equating to codependency, or just like the happily ever after. We're both so similar, but it's like liberating to see my own individual bright principles and things that I bring to the table, and be able to like stand next to someone else and see them for their unique facets, and to be excited about those differences and not need it to be so, to have space. Like Leslie was speaking about having space in the relationship and like doing your own thing and like being excited about what you're excited about and being excited for your partner's excitement about what they're excited about, but not needing to be like in it in the same way. I feel like that's profound for me. Feels really, yeah, joy. I feel joy. Oh,
Have a funny, this is so funny, all this, bringing all these things together about my two husbands. My first husband was interested in the ETB that Patricio and I went to. It was my first and Patricio's second, I think. And so he came along and he talked to Georg, and he really sounded like, gosh, this might be exactly what he was looking for. And I was so excited because he and I are good friends. We're in touch with each other. It's like he's family to me still. And after the first night, he decided it wasn't for him. And I was so upset. And Georg led us into a process about letting go of me letting go of expectation of him. And boy, I was so, even he wasn't even my, my current husband. And I just knew that possibility management was what he's been looking for. I knew it. And I still feel like he missed out. He made a bad decision. So yeah, that's some of these things don't change, But I think it also says something about my relationship with him. Was
what becomes possible for you in your space of relating with your ex-husband when you do this kind of experiment, or when you did that releasing expectations process? What happens for you? What happens for the space of relating?
It was a powerful experience of what I do in the relationship with him, and probably other people too, but just that the kind of codependency was still active. That's how I was thinking of it, was that he needed to fulfill, like I let go of him, of my current husband fulfilling any of these ideas that he should, be part of anything that I'm doing. And yet I still held on to it with the other one. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yes.
Just to recognize that, even if I thought I had left that behavior behind.
Well, I guess what I want to know is, how does it feel? Like how does the space of relating feel on either side of the experiment?
I feel some joy of recognition of, just more awareness. And then I feel sadness, I feel anger, that in my head, I understand that he's not me and he doesn't have to go for what I'm going for. And yet I was in the child's fantasy. I was yeah. Yeah. And I felt sad that, well, I mainly felt sad that I couldn't change him. Even though, I mean, that's the honest answer, that it was important to see. I even, it sounds like even still, I haven't quite let go of it.
So I just want to check, have you done, were you able to do this experiment quickly with this ex-husband? I didn't make that clear.
I see. I've been trying to get on the computer this whole time, so I was a little distracted.
Would you do the experiment now with your
Okay.
ex-husband? So
Yeah.
So there was an old image that you had, that you and your ex-husband should be at the same level of development and should have the same spark of excitement about learning and trying new things.
Right.
And that he also should have been excited about Expand the Box the way you were.
Yeah.
And now you just change your mind from that image to the new image that what I just said is a child's fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
What is possible in your space of relating with your ex-husband now after having done that?
what's possible is knowing that only me withdrawing my expectations is going to make our relationship possible. Make it possible to be close. In my new situation, what is possible? So it's more possible to be close. And I have dropped a lot of some of the ways I used to be with him. So I think over time I have dropped expectations.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like I have sort of this exact thing of like I would do something like Expand the Box so I could be closer to other people. And then having the expectation that whoever it is also does Expand the Box is what's keeping me from being close.
Right.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
And anyone else, or there's more to read?
What did you say?
I was just saying, anyone else have something to share? But let's keep reading. Here you are, spark in hand, excited almost to the point of percolation. I don't really know what that means. Does anyone know what that means?
That's when
Coffee
the
make it.
coffee's ready and it's
Okay. Okay. So
Snap it apart.
rounds.
almost to the point where the coffee is ready. And over there, your partner reads the newspaper, fools around on the computer, or screams at the kids. The question arises, how do I develop myself in this situation? Next person.
The answer to that question now may be different from what you thought the answer to that question was before you did the experiment and changed your mind that partners need to be at the same level of development. The answer about how to use these sparks, for example, for self-development, even in your particular situation, is the same procedure for how to use these sparks in every quality of a relationship. You read the sparks and you practice the experiments. you have fun. You try your best and crash and burn. Pick yourself up and try again. Play around. Stretch beyond your limits. These experiments open fabulous new universes of perception and experience. Your perception and your experience. Do it because you want to. Your partner will do whatever they will do, as always. Sure, you can invite them to play along with you. Either they will or they won't. But expect anything from your partner, the possibility of authentic relationship is
We will continue. Even if your partner is thoroughly antagonist to creating an extraordinary life and profound intimacy, this never had nor ever will have any impact on you creating an extraordinary life and profound intimacy. Only one person decides what you learn about and explore, and it is not your partner. No matter if you take huge risks in being vulnerable and communicative, and every effort you make with your partner seems to explode in your face, no effort is wasted. Your matrix builds regardless of your apparent lack of success. In personal development experiments, it does not matter whether you succeed or fail. What matters is that you keep trying. One thing I have been learning about is having faith. One thing I find worthy of great respect and faith is evolution. Your actual circumstances turn out to be irrelevant. What matters is your relationship to those circumstances. You can have faith in evolution happening, whatever your circumstances.
There are no failed relationships because in every relationship, evolution is happening. Even if you live in total denial of what is really going on in your relationship, something is cooking in you, and sooner or later it will come to the surface for your benefit. So relax about your partner and keep making efforts. Learn what you can learn. As a side experiment to your other experimenting, do whatever you can to accept things as they are. Accept things that are deep within yourself and accept things that are completely outside of yourself. Accepting is not about being abused. Neither is accepting an endurance contest. To accept means to receive. In the moment you accept things as they are, those things gain the freedom to suddenly change. Continue the side experiment with your changed mind, accepting your partner as they are and accepting yourself as an experimenter. Flip back to a previous spark and do or redo an experiment that you would like play with further.
Is there anything anyone would like to see again before I go back to face to face?
This is very in line with 12-step with the work that I've done in that program, the Al-Anon program. It's really, and I've done this particular spark before with Ingrid, and I don't remember it having so much impact on me. Kind of that I recognize the keeping at it part, that has really yielded some great results.
So say more, Leslie. I hear this has something similar to do with 12 steps. What have you gotten from 12 steps that is in Leslie? And what have you gotten from doing this spark now twice that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think that concept that as long as I'm putting my expectations on someone, that it destroys what's possible between us. And that it there's so much for many people, for me as somebody who grew up with people who had a lot of mental illness in my family, there was a sense of there's got to be a right and wrong, there's got to be a sense of control, and I'll be the one to put things the way they should be. So that has been a lot of my work in Al-Anon, in 12-step, to get that actually that's distorted thinking, that I'm the owner of what's right and wrong, and I'm the one to put it all back together the way it needs to be. So yeah,
Mm.
I feel really, really lucky, really grateful. And as challenging as it still is to find that I'm doing it again, I'm trying to take over or take control or decide what's right and wrong and acceptable and not acceptable. That it's just going to be part of my learning for the rest of my time. I don't think I'll ever outgrow the impulses. But what I have gained is some extra sense of understanding what the impact is going to be by acting those impulses.
Thank you, Leslie. One thing I really love about this spark is how simple the experiment is. That it's really a 3-second experiment, maybe a 10-second experiment. And yeah, I really experience a world of difference to let it be irrelevant what my partner is doing. And I just get that lightness. I get that lightness back in my life. Genevieve, what's that?
I really love the way to read that spark, because for me, I think it's applying, you can apply in it not just with your partner, but also with good friends or important relationships, in fact. because the experiment we did for 3 seconds, some seconds, I did it once with one person, and after I did it again with a friend, which was really very close to me for many, many years. It was a friend, but it is the same way. And after, when I switch, I can see the same way of freedom, and also that I am responsible of what I choose now to live with that person or not. And it brings me to, it brought really freedom, independence in that relationship when I switch. And I am responsible of what I do with it after that. And that, well, I like it. And I like it. What? Thank you.
Meredith, will you say something?
Something about this doesn't land at all. Because part of my survival is to make everything my fault and my problem. And so I don't really do this thing of wanting the other person to change and like, this is where they're at. Like, I'm sure there are little ways, like logistical things. Yes. And I was like, okay, doing it with my brothers. This is, and I'm not saying it's not something I do, but it doesn't really feel like that big of a.
But Meredith, you have done this with people that you are living with.
Okay. Fair
So-
point.
So pick one of those people, and would you do the experiment? You have some fantasy about living in a community with somebody that they ought to be, whatever, get the same distinctions that you get about something.
Uh-huh.
Let yourself be in that image. You have that image?
Yes.
Okay, and now in 3 seconds, just switch to the new image that whole thing is a child's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you switched to the new image? It is just a child's fantasy that they will ever get, possibly ever get the same distinctions you have.
Okay.
What is possible in your relating? And don't think about it. Just feel energetically what is possible in your space of relating with that person.
A lot more spaciousness. Yes.
Keep saying, what else is possible?
A lot less judgment, a lot more spaciousness, a lot more being with.
Go a little slower. Call that person forward energetically in front of you and just feel what is possible in your relating when you're in the new image, that it's just a child's fantasy, that they're moving at the same speed as you, or getting the same things as you get.
Or should be, right?
Yeah, or should do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So really have them in front of you. What is possible now that you're in the new image?
I think a lot more space.
For
A lot more space for relating in the present.
what might relating in the present look like?
Not having stories.
How do you feel?
I feel angry because what I was trying to say was about was about like logistics. It's like my brain is in this is stuck on just one aspect of it. Like I get held up on one aspect of these things. So I guess I wasn't communicating clearly.
I don't get what you mean by logistics.
Like I get hung up on the same thing over and over and over again with people, and it's not often about them transforming and being at the same part of evolution as me. It's something different.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is what you're basically sharing is this spark doesn't apply to me. And I'm saying that that's not my experience, because I know you pretty well. I know how your relating goes. I know tons of times that you block relating because so and so isn't should be transforming or should have certain distinctions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
It's a really common gremlin maneuver to block things that might be transformational by saying, I'm a unique case. I can't figure out how this applies to me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing
America.
the experiment again.
Clarity. Are we? I am. I don't feel clear on that interaction. Are we say or is it being said that to cut someone out of your life who's not in alignment with your particular brand of evolution or what you want to create or being of service to humanity, etc., that is something that you shouldn't do? Or I guess there's no should or shouldn't. I'm just having a moment with that as well. I definitely wouldn't put myself around certain people on purpose.
Yeah, the sparks is, it's not about being abused or it's not about enduring. I don't think that none of this is prescriptive rule. It's an experiment. It's an experiment that may or may not give a distinction about what happens when you drop the fantasy that people should or can even transform at the same rate or do anything at the same speed as you.
Okay.
Or be at the same place. I think.
Does that land, Rafi?
Yes. 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 I think I'm letting go of a sense of right and wrong and getting more into the beginner's mind of experimentation.
Yeah, to me, at least what I get from the spark is just this crazy power I have of it takes 3 seconds and I can observe, I can experience how my space of relating with somebody else can change. That's what I get from the spark, but nothing about I should keep so and so around in my life forever.
Right.
Or I shouldn't do that, or I have to be friends with everyone that walks down the street that I pass in the street.
Right.
Hey, we're a minute over time. Close the space here. Thank you.
Thank you. Really, I liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
See you
good
guys
night,
next week.
wherever you are
See you next week. Yes.
next week.
Meredith, I have a desire to see the map, or to like if there can be a picture in the Telegram group or something of the map,
That's a good idea.
because I have a desire to integrate it more. That's very relevant to me in this now.
Thank you for the reminder. I'll send a picture right now.
Thank you. I love your talent. So fitting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi.